negative for pot. In order for there to be a Pesach, you gotta get rid of chametz. Now, to understand this better, let's spell the word matzah. Okay? Tzaddik and hey. Am I right? And tzaddik and hey. And the hey at the end, by the way, is silent. Everyone knows that, right? A lot of words like that in Hebrew. Like we're fine in English, F-I-N-E, going over there. So the hey here, matzah, hey silent. Matzah, hey, is what we eat on Pesach. How is matzah connected to chametz? Chametz is what the matzah comes from. Actually, the chametz comes from the matzah, and they both come from grain. They both kneaded with water and baked, and you either get bread that is risen or matzah that's flat and is not. And in that kind of situation, in which you have chametz, which is bread that you can over there.
Sorry.
Yeah. So then that kind of let's see, right. Chametz, same thing as bread. The bracha on chametz, the same thing as the bracha on matzah. Mostly lechem and ours, bread. We're not permitted to eat chametz because when the Jewish people left Mitzrayim in a hurry, we did not have any time to let the dough rise, and we had to eat matzahs on the way out. And that's symbolic of the swiftness with which the Klal Yisrael left Mitzrayim. The swiftness is sort of a dramatic swiftness. Today you're a slave, tomorrow you're free. No process of one another. Yeah, thank you. There's no process here. Yes, there was a process, I guess, that plague, the punishment against the Egyptians, and finally the Moshe Rabbeinu told the Pharaoh let the Jews go. It was 10 plagues, and before each plague, God said let them go, and Pharaoh refused. The plague came. Pharaoh said, "I'm sorry, I'll let them go," and all that nonsense that produced 10 trials in which Mitzrayim suffered. And we applaud and enjoy their suffering because they deserve it. And it's terrible what they did to us, horrible slavery, and as a result, they were punished. But we didn't. Our freedom process, and we're going to learn about the process, by the way. And you can mark this down, by the way. Also, the freedom process is 4. The 4 steps to freedom is that the oppressive, suffering, beatings, whippings, and hurt that the Egyptians put upon us stopped. That was one part of the process. And again, there is a preliminary process, and we're going to see the preliminary process, and then the swiftness of the change and the transition from slaves to free men. So the first step in the process is the stopping of suffering. The second step was that Hashem stopped the Egyptians from employing us at all. They could no longer tell us what to do. If we chose what to do and they paid for us, that'd be fine. But if they told us what to do, we could spit them in the face and say nothing to it. That's called the second step. They have no control over us whatsoever. The third step is the actual departure from Mitzrayim. And that's where the dramatic transition occurs. There was a fourth step that occurred for freedom. It was delayed, however. That fourth step was the giving of the Torah. So we understand that the process of freedom is the process where people should never inflict harm or cruelty upon other people, or to even control people. Just because you don't whip the slave doesn't mean you can keep the slave. Just because you're kind and sweet, bringing flowers doesn't mean you don't have to pay him. That's the second step. The third step, of course, is that there has to be a course of action or a course of direction for the slave to be able to know what to do with his newfound freedom. And that's called the Torah. The third step is, the fourth step. The third step is actual departure from Egypt. And the reason that this is a third step, by the way, it's an interesting thing. I'm getting confused. One second. First step is the stoppage of suffering. The second one is the stoppage of control. The third is the departure from the land. The departure from the land is an interesting thing because you see, like let's say over here in America they had slaves. So now the slaves are free, right? And they don't have to stay here if they don't want to. Or stay on the plantation in the south if they don't want to. Then the question is, where do they go? So you can move. Maybe leave the south and go to the north, where you get a job. Or maybe some did stay. Some, but I mean, no one left America, but I know. We left Egypt. And the reason that we're unique in this case of other nations that have been enslaved is the fact that we were displaced or displaced. We didn't belong there in the first place. And you can also argue here in America, they'll do slaves, they don't belong here because they came from Africa. They go back to Africa. But they didn't want to. But they're here a long time, 200 years. But so we in Egypt 200 years. So why are we leaving? Let's be free and be in Egypt. No Egyptians. Right? Most of the slaves came out, most of the slaves in the South became citizens of America. No. They're citizens of the United States. So why do we stay there in Egypt? Become citizens of Egypt. Right? So we understand, of course, that our displacement from our land of Israel to Egypt was a temporary sojourn, and we knew that. I'm not sure the slave understood that. In other words, we knew we had a heritage that said we don't belong here. It's not just that we don't belong being Egyptian, we don't belong in this country. Which is odd because a nation is born outside of its homeland. The English were born in England, French in France, the Spanish in Spain, the Australians in Australia, the Jews were born in Egypt. It's over here. But it also is a foretelling for our future. Our future will be is that we will spend the majority of our existence abroad. We spent a grand total of 1,000 years as a sovereign nation in Israel. That's about it. In the 2 decades, previous 4 decades. In other words, ever since then, the destruction of the Second Temple, we're abroad 2,000 years. We've been in this exile 2,000 years. So in 2,000 years, we found something. Oh, genius. Anyway, so point is that for 2,000 years we've been abroad. So you would think we would have blended into the various cultures we were in that country. Of course, the answer is we didn't. And part of the reason we didn't is because they oppressed us. So they made it feel different, you know. And that's why it was easy to stay separate. But also we had a heritage and a culture and a Torah and business and the lifestyle that demanded independence and could society in any event, peaceful or unpeaceful. In any event, as I say, the third part of the freedom process is a process in which there has to be for the Jewish people a departure. We have to go, get out of here, we have to go home. The fourth part is direction, and that's the Torah, how we're going to live our lives, different than where we lived in Egypt. And so these are the 4 steps of the freedom process. We are therefore required to drink 4 cups of wine on Pesach night in honor of these 4 steps. I will tell you at this point, if you want to mark it down again, that we've been taking notes as best, because again, I don't have time to show you, but if you want to just remember this, these are the 4 times that you're going to drink 4 cups. The first time is when you are going to, which is going to be very similar to every other Friday night, or every other holiday. That's Kiddush. And Kiddush becomes the first of the 14 steps of the Haggadah. Again, I don't have the 14 steps here. I wish I did. I will try to bring them next week. There are 14 steps to the Haggadah, to the Seder. On Pesach night, 14 steps. Of the 14 steps, none of them here with the 4 cups. The 4 cups pretty attached to different steps. The very first step in the Pesach Seder is to make Kiddush. That means Kiddush is no different than Shabbat, no different than Chag. Every holiday is attached to have a Kiddush. Why do we have a Kiddush anyway? So we talked about it in terms of the mitzvah of the Torah, and the Torah requires a verbalized declaration that Shabbos or Yom Tov is in. That verbalized declaration is required to be done over a cup of wine from the rabbis. You could say it, and that'll be done. For instance, if women were lighting candles on Friday night, and they said the braza Asher Kiddushanu, the Sotava Sivanu, Lahad Mikner Shel, Shabbat. But they would also say Shabbat Kodesh. When you add the word Kodesh, what have you done? You have declared Shabbos holy, which is the requirement of the Torah. That's the mitzvah of the Torah. That's one of the 613. It's in our book. So the fact that we do it again over a cup of wine, that's the Torah. The rabbis embellished it. Rabbis want it to be near a meal. The wine begins the meal. Fact of the matter is that and men do it, women do it in candle lighting, and men do it in the shul. When they go to shul, they daven, they go, Baruch Atu Hashem HaKadosh Shabbat, in the Friday night prayer of Ma'ariv, and that's their declaration. And the women do it in candle lighting, and everybody does it together once again, the Rabbanan, over a cup of wine. And the rabbis wanted it to start the meal. Interesting thing about starting the meal is that the rabbis said that usually you start a meal not with wine. If you have wine and bread on the table, what do you start the meal with? Bread. I mean, bread is superior to wine. Wine's pretty important, don't get me wrong. But bread is superior. But this time we do it differently. Why do we do it differently? Because of the obligation to declare the Shabbos. We hold. And to declare so over a cup of wine is the mitzvah of the. And that's the first step of the Pesach Seder. What we're going to learn about the Pesach Seder is that some of the things that we do are going to be very familiar, which is to throw you off. Why are we trying to throw you off? Because we want to come to a time during the Seder in which you're going to say 2 magic words. What are the 2 magic words you want to say? Say it. Or you want to get it. You don't want to say it. You could say it, but you want maybe your children to say it. And you want the people to say it. 2 magic words that tell you got to say it or don't. And that's why. Close. I want to leave you though. But why is very good. That's real true. Real true. Why is real true? And of course, the 2 words are, anybody? No, that's the answer. Show me how to say why. How do we have to do why? Okay, you'll feel hungry, but you're close. Manishtana is correct. Manishtana. Let's change it. And we're going to see a very fascinating and interesting description of how it's done. But the Seder begins with and the wine. We'll go through the Seder. Before I want to go to the Seder, I want to remind everyone first the difference between chametz and matzah. In other words, before we even get into matzah, we got to get rid of chametz. That means that just as the Jewish people after this process made a transition of freedom that was immediate, tonight we are celebrating Pesach in Egypt, in which we are partly free. I mean, I got freedom of religion. They can't tell me, they can't stop me from going back to their religion. They didn't want to try, but they gave up already. And if they get hit by 10th place, they're not messing with us anymore. Right? Okay. And they were particularly upset with our religion too. Why were they upset with our religion? Because we made fun of theirs. What was their religion? Worshiping a lamb, an animal. We took their God, and they got pretty upset with it. We go, my God. Like, so let's say someone came and stole your car or something. My car. And then a personal God and a personal God. You know, give me back my God, you know. My God, you know, not yours, give me back my God. Nope, sorry, you didn't do my God. Bring that sacrifice to our Hashem and eat it. And watch us. Right? Watch us chomp on it. So, of course, we're making a lot of fun of their religion and everything. Because we don't care. It's a super religion anyway. But it's not even a religion. But the point is that as they as we ate that sacrifice, and we had this kind of freedom in which we were able to do it. They no longer oppressed us, they no longer controlled us. They gave us freedom to eat with our basic Seder. But that's not enough in terms of another step of religion. I got freedom of religion here in America too. Doesn't mean free. Freedom means getting out of the foreign land. Egypt is a foreign land. America is a foreign land. You have freedom till you're no longer a minority, till you're a majority, till you're a sovereign. It's my land, my place, my control. Well, I ain't given to me by God. And so the third step is, of course, leaving Egypt. And then the fourth step, as we said, is getting the Torah for direction. And that's the four steps of freedom. So, but I got into this because I just wanted to show that on the night that we celebrated Pesach for the first time, and their firstborn are dying, and we're eating their God, we're not free yet, even though it's freedom of religion. We're not free till the next morning. But that was the next morning. Leaving. And in leaving, you see, that was really the third great step. That was drastic. That was instantaneous. Instantaneously, you go from a slave to a free man out of Egypt. Which means what? Which means that we didn't have time to let the bread bake or rot. So therefore, matzah is a symbol of freedom. Matzah is a symbol of freedom from oppression. That was matzah. So obviously, to commemorate this, to relive it, is what we're going to do and have to do. We have to get rid of chametz. So once again, matzah is spelled mem tzadik hey. Correct? How do we spell chametz? Chet, mem, tzadik. Can you please tell me, if you're familiar with Hebrew, which you should be, the two letters that are similar in both words? What is similar to both chametz and matzah? Which two letters are similar in chametz and matzah? Which two letters? Ben and taf. which is different. One's got a chet, the other has a hay. In appearance, how big is there a difference between the chet and the hay in appearance? Which means what? The difference between chametz and matzah. I'm baking or kneading, and if I don't get quick in the proper amount of time to get that stuff out of the oven or out of the kneading process, it's going to rise and I'm done. That's how different. That's how quick you have to be. Matzah requires quickness, zealousness, top your game, ready to move. Tonight we're celebrating, relaxing, enjoying, wining, dining. Tomorrow morning you're on the go at 6 a.m. But I only went to bed at 4. Sorry. No. There are people that do party late at night and then go out to their jobs and what? Some people. Not many. Then of course there are a lot of people that will do so for dominating me. Some people stay up late at night and learn and celebrate and whatever, and then get up in the morning. The daven 7, 8, 9 o'clock. I'm not sure. But then of course there are lazy bums who sloth. I was up late last night, Friday night. I didn't do the school job this morning. You know how it is. I'm tired. Good morning. So obviously, what we're saying here is that don't pass up the opportunity. Because if you pass up the opportunity of freedom, listen, you're not getting up tomorrow at 6 a.m. You're done. You're staying here and eating. Therefore, we call a missed opportunity in Hebrew chametz. Chametz is a missed opportunity. Another word for chametz is chometz. What's the chometz in Greek? Come on, anybody? Anybody in Hebrew? Yeah, chometz. Anybody? Okay. Vinegar. Oh, vinegar, mazel tov. Now, is vinegar drinkable? I mean, you can pour the drop on a salad, but that's about it. I mean, you don't want to drink vinegar. Vinegar's sour. It's icky picky. I mean, your mitzvah becomes vinegar, not beautiful and tasteful and delightful and wonderful. It's vinegary. It's icky. I know you did the mitzvah, but you did it icky. The idea is that you want to do the mitzvah with zealousness, with quickness, with more. I'm Johnny on the spot. Mom comes over and says, could you help out around here with this and that? What do you say, Mom? I'm 67, 18 idiots, 18 idiots. You say, just a minute, Ma. I'll be right with you, Ma. I'm busy watching TV show, Ma. I'm busy on one of those stuff. What do they do? People watch TV now. They watch this stuff, right? I'm busy, Ma. I'm busy, Ma. I'm busy, Ma. Get on the ball. Get on the ball. That's all getting on the ball. That's all I'm quick. That's all about being ready with enthusiasm to beat the day. So the idea of our dramatic and instantaneous departure, the moment the sunrise came and daybreak came, that next morning was zoom at it, zoom at it in, right? And while you zoom in, right? And you zoom guys at home, zoom guys up. Get it. So when you zoom in, what are you doing? You are being part of what's happening. You're being part of you're being part of history. It's such a beautiful thing. History is happening for your lives. You need to see it. Um, 1967, 5 Arab countries threatened war against Israel right after the Peace was over in 67. I was there at the time. My friends were there. We got these letters from the American Embassy. All American citizens go home. It was expecting a war. We can't protect you. Right there, we need you. And of course, a lot of guys didn't leave. I stayed. I'm not a hero or anything, but I saw the 61. And so it's pretty much sick. I see Israel with American citizens vanquished by their countries. Those population 100. You ever see people praising America? Amazing, but guys, Israel decided, those were the days that have brains. That's what they have. War brains, but all they had brains. The Israelis decided that we're going to do something very interesting. What we're going to do is, somebody over there. What we're going to do, said the Israelis, is we're going to get food first. Guys, don't wait for them to get after you. So therefore, what do? What they went ahead and did was they so like that. If you want what they did was they early in the morning, about 6 a.m. or so, they had fighter pilots ran into their airplanes and bombed the entire Egyptian Air Force while the plane was on the air, on the ground. So therefore, Egyptians, nobody was hurt by the way, I think. But, and the Air Force said, no one's the 1 6 days. Not a few many people be out and make 3 6 days. It's a miracle. I'm just going to see it. It's an amazing event. But you got to really want these kind of things. You got to really want to have these things happen. That's why. That's when freedom occurs. When you leave Egypt early in the morning, and there's no time to let the dough rise. So I guess we're going to eat the broad for a while, and then we'll eat matzah. Eat the first thing in the world. It's nourishing. Are we really caring about what we're eating when we're in the midst of merging into freedom? You're worried about you're worried about dinner? You're worried about dinner. Let's think about food. Is the answer, of course, that matzah is a symbol of this. So matzah is a symbol of zealousness, quickness on the job, on the money, ready to go, and just this incredible desire to do the right thing at the right time, and not to be late. Because when you're late, you mix with vinegar. Like candles. After the sunset, you mix with vinegar. I didn't mix it all. When should you like candles? 18 minutes before, of course. Some say these days, people learn to try to light early, just to be more zealous with Shabbos. In Jerusalem, the Israeli custom is 40 minutes. We light candles in Yerushalayim, the entire city, 40 minutes before the sunset. 40 minutes before the sun sets, we got people already in their suits, in their dresses, in their finery, with their kids, walking down the street. Just easy to shop. So beautiful. Point is that again, timing is so important. And the timing is instantaneous in terms of whether or not you become some matzah. You leave that dough in the kneading process an extra second or two, and you got hummus there, that matzah. And not only can you fulfill the mitzvah of matzah with it, you in fact get the terrible sin of hummus. For as much as it is a positive and beautiful mitzvah to eat matzah, it's equally a terrible sin to have hummus. You understand that? Positive, negative, and the negative is serious. We eat hummus on Pesach. Not just take any matzah on Pesach. You eat the hummus. Why can't I eat both of them? I remember going to a person who was sitting with the Reform Jews and bread and matzah, the same thing. Why? Because I can't give up pizza, but tradition, culture, a little matzah there, hey, isn't it? Sorry, they're like jokers. And no, The essence of law is the essence of getting rid of the chametz before anything else happens. For anything disturbance, you have to get rid of the chametz. So therefore, when you get rid of the chametz, not only can't you eat the chametz, you're also not allowed to own the chametz. You're also not allowed to benefit from the chametz. If you have stock in a company that produces chametz on Pesach, and you're getting a dividend, with a problem. Getting that from chametz. And of course, the ownership issue is a big issue too. You gotta get rid of it. Can't just, I can own pork, I just can't eat it. I can own a cheeseburger, I just can't eat it. Right? You can't buy a cheeseburger is a little different. The cheeseburger is milk and meat. There I cannot bend it. I can own the cheeseburger, but I can't sell it. I can't give it to someone. That's a unique thing to the mixture of meat and dairy. But besides that unique mixture, the concept is that all other kosher things do not require relinquishing ownership. I own a trade press. And I put a big sign on the trade press and it says, forbidden to all Jews. I'm prejudiced. No Jews can come into this festival. But I can't afford it. Because if I keep out there and eats my stuff, what am I doing? I'm giving him trade. Can't do that. Right? Not only can I get benefit from the trade, it's the point I can benefit. I can come on, guys. I want everybody in town to come to my restaurant. I'll make it as juicy trade as possible. In order for me to make money. I don't have a problem making money. I can't put a Jew. But when it comes to all other non-kosher items, I can get rid of, I can own, I can have benefit from. I just have the milk and meat, but other than that, I can have whatever. With chametz, I can't even own. But why do you think that this chametz becomes such a severe requirement more than any other kosher discipline? Why is the Torah so insistent upon relinquishing ownership?
Because of what the chametz represents.
Good point. And the real reason is the chametz, it's easy to make a mistake. I'm used to bread all year long. Now, I go into my pantry and I see a loaf of bread, and guess what? I forget it's expensive. You can't own chametz because it's an easy trap. You're gonna make a mistake. So it's not enough to say I don't eat chametz on Pesach. You gotta get rid of your chametz. It's how do you get rid of it? There are three ways. One is the traditional way. Burn it. Huh? Burn it. Oh, burn it, sell it, and eat it. Eat it beforehand. Right. Well, actually, eating, to be perfectly honest, is just like burning. It's destruction. You're getting rid of it. But the other way, it's called, I hereby nullify ownership. Now, over here, I've got maybe 10 loaves of bread. So I declare it's open and free for anybody. But nobody's coming to my house, so therefore nobody's still there. And maybe someone will come into my house, someone will take the bread, it's free, I can't charge it, it's not mine anymore. I nullify it. I hereby, see that wreck on wheels out there? I got a car out there that is really, it's kaput. You know what, I want to send it to the junkyard. So I say I hereby relinquish ownership over this car. Whoever hits it, beats it, destroys it, I don't care, I don't want any money. It's not my car anymore. It's not my chametz anymore. I can see over here in this closet, I have a $5,000 closet. And this $5,000 closet, the closet of expensive whiskey. Oh, that's schnapps. You can get it. You can come and get rid of it. But you can't have it. So now, if I nullify ownership and I say it's not mine anymore, it's not mine anymore. I'm done. So if I'm done with that, that's another way of getting rid of the chametz. Now, you know this, we are required by the rabbis. The Torah requires only one of those methods. The Rabbanu require all three. You have to know them. So insofar as, let's say, a nullification is concerned, we'll make a statement. It's in the Haggadah. Unfortunately, I apologize once again. I'm ill prepared today, as you well know. So hopefully look it up tomorrow. Next week. And of course, for those of you that come late, it's worth your while to come early so you don't miss the information. There's a special statement that is made. In fact, I'll read it to you. The statement is the statement is any chomets which is in my possession, which I did not see, or did see, remove and not remove, or know about, don't know about, should become nullified and ownerless, like the dust of the earth. Those $5,000 and one of whiskey don't belong to me. That's the first thing. That's what the Torah requires. Now, the second step is also required by the Torah is actual physical destruction. If you dispute the Talmud, which one of the three works, and we do all three, just fulfill the mitzvah that are on it. The second step is actual destruction. The actual destruction should be by fire. If let's say, I'll talk about this a minute. But the way to do it is to search for the chametz the night before Pesach. This year, it is Thursday night. So Thursday night, I gather at home with the family, and we're going to search for chametz. We're going to search so extensively. It's like, let's say you're in a hotel. So you got to search the whole hotel to make sure that the hotel, check it out. You check it out at the hotel, you got to check the room. Back, I'll leave it in it. Oh my God, my phone charge right there. No matter how well and extensively you're cleaning for Pesach, and you should be doing that now. That does not absolve you from that last minute check. Go home, search for chametz in Hebrew, b'dikat chametz. So now that night, that little candle, by the way, the candle has to be a single wick, because otherwise it'll get too, it's hard to focus with more than one, with a single wick candle. And you go around looking all over the place for chametz. You do not have to check a room in which, the other one. You do not have to check a room in which you have not brought chametz into during the year. So, generally, most people don't put chametz into the bathroom. You don't have to check the bathrooms. Now, you may have a storage place to which you never go to, hardly ever. So then you don't check it. But if you have a storage place in which you have maybe a servant who you might send into the storage place to get some wine for you, let's say, in the wine cellar, and while he's doing it, he's eating a sandwich, then you gotta check the whole wine cellar. So a lot of people are real careful throughout the year not to put chametz in certain rooms to make it easier for them to check on Thursday night. Point is that as you're doing this and as you're doing a check, you do not have to go to the floors, because whatever's on the floor is dust, and you step on it, it's certainly odorless. No need to check the floors. You need to check the drawers. You need to check the closets with clothing. Somebody maybe you put a candy in here or whatever it is, in a pocket, whatever. You gotta check pretty much most of the rest of the house, unless you know for a fact in this particular room I did not put any chametz in. Okay.
What if it's like a drawer that you know you never put food in?
And then you have to check. What if you have kids? Correct. You gotta be careful with the kids also, correct. Actually, the Mishnah doesn't use that example. The Mishnah uses an example of a rat. I don't know if the kids are rats, but the idea is that a rat will carry the food around, it's all the kids. Anyway, you gotta check everything. And a check should be extensive, should be careful, it should be and really with a candle and you make the bracha beforehand as well, but this is part of the process of destruction and elimination. The process of destruction and elimination is the process that begins with the search the night before Pesach. Thursday. The search oftentimes is done in a way in which 10 pieces of bread, in order to make sure that it listen to become you put in like one of those zip bags, it's the plastic bags, and you put it around the house. 1, 2, 3, 4. Just we put 10. And the 10 is significant in our religion. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 7, 8, like that. And now we start the search. Sometimes what we do is the real search, and the father of the house who's searching, he's got to find where his kid put those 10. And he comes up at night, it's pretty sad. So you're searching around and for all the stuff, and then you find the 10, maybe a few other things as well, put them all in a bag. And you burn that. And the process of burning elimination begins with that search on Thursday night. So the bracha is the bracha al asher kinishanu v'mesotav tzivanu al bi'ur chametz, for the bi'ur of chametz, for the destruction of chametz. But I'm not destroying chametz tonight. He's doing it tomorrow. Doesn't matter. The mitzvah begins tonight, ends tomorrow. Begins with church, ends with fire. And so therefore the bracha is made at the beginning. Make the search, put it all together, and get it ready for tomorrow. Now, Erev Pesach is a very interesting day. Erev Pesach is a day that half of it is already done. In other words, whenever you have a holiday, the rules of the holiday begin when the holiday begins. When does the holiday begin? What time of day? The rules of Pesach begin long before nightfall, long before sunset. The rules of the prohibition of chametz begins as of midday. Furthermore, there are, as you know, Pesach is a holiday that is a long one, it's 8 days. Of the 8 days, the first 2 are holidays, which can't work, and the last 2 are holidays, which can't work. The middle 4, of course, are what's called Chol HaMoed. What's Chol HaMoed? The intermediate days. These intermediate days, you can go to work. Most try not to, because they want to keep the festive nature of the holiday. And of course, the prohibition of chametz remains in effect, even though throughout those 4 days and the next 2. But the 2 things that you really shouldn't do during Chol HaMoed, you should not do laundry, and you should not take any errands. And if, let's say, and since that rule applies as of midday every Pesach. As of Friday at noon, you no longer can take a haircut, no longer can shave, no longer can do laundry. The laundry preparations last night, the night before, or in the morning. But during the morning process, the rabbis will make the rules stricter, and they'll say 2 hours before midday, let's say 10:30 in the morning, you have to stop eating chametz. You want to have Cheerios in the morning, that's swell. But by 10:30, you have to stop eating the Cheerios, and you got to get rid of the Cheerios. But if you don't have to get rid of them right away, you get rid of them an hour later. So by 10:30, you stop eating chametz, and the children as well. And at 11:30, you burn the chametz. Or make a little fire in your trash can, that's swell. Some of the local Chabad shuls have, we have one over here in Burbank, and Burbank and Ethel, here in North Hollywood, the Chabad makes a big fire, and it's self-contained and safe, and people come and they burn their chametz and make another declaration to nullify the chametz. And so you're actually burning the chametz and nullifying it at the same time. In case there's something that I missed last night in the search, I hereby nullify. I forgot that following this. Well, it will be yours. What happens when you find it in the middle of Pesach? Well, what can you do? You're ready. You can take it. $50 bottle. $50 bottle. Let fish. Or my favorite one. Yeshiva. Yeshiva's real. We did a lot of drinking in Yeshiva. I'll tell you that. Yeshiva's real. Right? Then, of course, those of us that were real royalty, crown royalty. Anyway, you take that bottle of whiskey as you're crying, your heart is broken, and you open the toilet bowl and down it goes. Said the genius. So, the point is that you can't benefit from covenants anymore, you can't own covenants anymore, you gotta get rid of them. What about the third option? Third option is you got about $1,000 worth of covenants, foodstuffs, and maybe not just covenants itself, not real bread, but like foods and packaged products that have a little drop of covenants in it. Well, you all know something. That's the difference between Max and covenants in spelling is a little bit, right? A little letter, name set, and that little drop was different. One little drop of covenants in your no, I'm not talking about real covenants like cakes and cookies. I'm talking about maybe you got a drop of covenants in some product that has some little drop of flour or whatever.
I don't think you guys comments.
What? Oh, nearly everything.
Oh, gummy bears, everything else.
Okay, everything's got it. So therefore, you gotta get rid of it. Yeah, $2,000 worth of coins. So you sell it. Who do you sell it to? Sell it to me. That's right. I make a lot of money. Here's the way we do it. The way we do it is that you come to me and I show you a document. The document looks like this. And you'll see it just in there. This document is called a documentation of authorization. In Hebrew, according to the Talmudic law, according to absolute total legality as far as the Torah is concerned, which makes the real transition. The bottom here you see some signatures. This is from last year. These are signatures of people who signed on this and agreed to authorize me to sell their homes. Now I have some new sheets for this year. Where are they kept? And they're right over here. This is the document of authorization. You sign on it, authorizing me to be your agent to sell the homes. And when do you do this? Anytime now. Many of you, if you want to, do it today. So right up, stay in line. We'll get a little hanky, use some. Need a cloth. Okay, we'll get a cloth, and the cloth will be a cloth that we will exchange. The exchange of the cloth is the idea that transference of stuff that is not actual can occur with the transference of something that is actual. In other words, I'm going to buy a car. So when I go to the store to buy the car, I pay the money, but that doesn't mean anything. Doesn't mean paying the money, by the way, has nothing to do with buying anything. Paying has nothing to do with buying. You pay simply because you took something from someone that belonged to him, and it was a piece of valuable value, and you owe him to pay that. It's like a debt. It's not a debt. Huh? Correct. How does this product work? Well, basically, what it says is this: I want to transfer. $500 worth of. Nowadays, everybody does it anyway online. You can transfer some money online, right? And then so I want to transfer not money. I want to transfer a piece of property. Transfers of a piece of property, a chair, transfers of a table, transfers of a chair. I want to transfer something to the other person. I want him to take control of it. He wants to take control of it. Becomes his. So the way it becomes his when he starts using it, whether he paid or he doesn't, payment doesn't matter. He has to pay because otherwise he's a thief. But payment doesn't matter. What matters is that he took possession. It's his. So let's say you go to the car dealer and you want to buy this car, and you say to the dealer, I really like this car real lot. How much is it? $25,000. Here's a $25,000 check on the spot. However, I say to the guy, I really can't drive it off today because my license is being processed. And I come back tomorrow and take the car from you and leave the car in your lot. That night, there's a fire in the car lot and my car goes up in smoke. Who's responsible? Me? Who got the loss? Me or the owner of the dealer? The owner of the owner of the car dealership. The answer is no. Me, I'm losing.
Really?
When they get purchased, you make a key and you don't see it.
No, the opposite. But you're right. It's the car dealer's line because even though I paid for it, I never took possession of it. By not taking possession of it, it's not mine until I actually drive it off the lot. So therefore, I get it for my money back. How about if he gives me credit for a day and I take the car off the lot and I don't pay for it, because if you pay tomorrow, I trust you, and now the car gets stolen. I'm the one that loses. I'm going to lose because I took possession. How about let's try this one? I say to the car dealer, you know what? I can't take the car, possession of the car today, but I'm paying you right now. But in order to prove to you that the car is mine, I will take from you one other possession. And there is a ruling in Jewish law that says, once you take one item, the other item that comes along with it is considered yours as well. So I'm going to take a handkerchief from you. Now I take the handkerchief with me, go home, and the car burns out, and the car is mine. You get it? Because I took possession, even though I didn't. I had taken possession, but taking possession of a hanky. And ranking, as the Shai said, that's how you learn. You're not taking possession of the car, taking possession of the wife, different than the car. You want to remind people about that. But in case you might have make any mistakes. But I do want you to understand that you have a responsibility. How do you purchase, own, take possession of that responsibility? Responsibility to the contract. Hold a ketubah. Hold a ketubah. So the only way I can prove that this ketubah is my responsibility for this woman is by having witnesses sign it. The witnesses won't sign it unless I declare it. But my declaration is weak until I possess something with it. So I take this with this, and from the rabbi, and with this, I get all what's in there, all bunch of responsibilities. So witnesses sign it. Now the woman comes with this document 5 years later, the divorce document and says he owes me money, or he hasn't lived up to his responsibilities. I got to do this is prove it. And they witness that he took a hanky or a pen or something to prove that he accepted responsibility. So that's what you do with a non-movable object. And that's what happens here with the summons. You don't have to move the summons. So what you have to do is authorize me to sell. When I sell to the goy, it may be in your home. There's one little caveat. And that is that he also has the right, and he rents the right for access to your home anytime there was a case. And furthermore, the closets in which the chametz is found also is rented to him. I'm owner of chametz in your house, in my closet. I rent the apartment from the landlord, I rent the closet from you. And therefore, that's how you negotiate the sale. So for those that want to do it later on this morning, stop. So you just come right up here and we'll exchange something and you can sign on it and become and I'll have the right to your chametz. When I have the right to your chametz, on the day before Pesach, Friday morning at 11:30, when you're burning the rest of your chametz, that's when I will sign this document with your favorite town building. Greg is our beloved dry cleaner in our neighborhood. He does this every year for us. And he signs on the document. Like this one, he signs on, and he pays it down, baby. bucks for the pumps, $20 for the rentals, and on the top of this, I'm another $40. Thank you. Meantime, I get his name in here. And he signs it, and the witnesses sign it, and the judges sign it, that did. 3 judges, 2 witnesses, and the guarantor. Generally, the guarantor's a rich man, because he's got a guarantee. It's about $100,000 worth of funds that he paid. And when I sell it to him, it's gone. Now, after pay stuff, I say to him, $40 wasn't enough money. I mean, you know that. We said that when I sold it to him. And let's meet after pay stuff's over. Saturday night. In which at that time we will negotiate the variable price. And I'll say it's $75,000. I'll say, I'm not right now or something. I'll say, well, guess what? I want to buy it back. And all these people that have signed there on my document will authorize me to buy it back in their head. Then we negotiate on the handkerchief. I give back the $40. It's not you repurchase. This is not really a sound like a legal fiction, but in reality, it means to say that you're avoiding the very serious crime of owning chametz at Pesach. It's an important procedure, needs to be done. You haven't got your chametz to sell, no big deal. You do, and you want to hold on to it, then you got to be able to get rid of it and sell it. Want to sell it to your next door neighbor? Doesn't work because you need all these kinds of documentation. There's so many rules and regulations of interpersonal business transactions that are based upon commuted law that you can only do it through this procedure. So if you have to sell, you can sell it to me today, sell it to me next week, whatever it is, but your chametz needs to be sold. So those are the 3 ways to get rid of chametz.
So Rabbi, if you sell your products, you still have to.
What?
If you sell your products, you still have to burn, which is fine.
Oh, so the answer is you should. Why? Because since there are 3 different opinions of how to do it, burning, declaring, and selling. You sold to me, I sold to the guy. You made the declaration, it's printed in Haggadah, and go burn with the 10 pieces you found the night before. So this way you get 3 mitzvahs. You did the same mitzvah 3 different manners. You did the mitzvah in the best fashion possible. People should strive to do mitzvahs in the best form possible. There were 3 ways to do mitzvahs. One was the vinegary way. Right, sticky. You get it done, but didn't really do it a lot of love. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu. Eloheinu melech haolam she'achol haolam. Amen. Mitzvah beautifying a mitzvah is a mitzvah in the Torah. It's a mitzvah beautifying mitzvah. The Torah says that when the Jews went to the Red Sea, they saw the Egyptians drowning. They felt really so elated, so safe.